Your network is your net worth. You've probably heard this quote before, and we're a big believer in expanding our network, and we believe that builders should always strive to increase theirs too. Recently, we hosted a mastermind call with some of our clients, and on this call, we had one of Australia's top buyers agents, Matt Srama, to provide value for these builders. He shared a lot of valuable insights on why builders should team up with buyers agents. Today, we're sharing a podcast episode that we captured with Matt, where he discusses and shares a lot of valuable tips for builders on how to leverage their network.
You're one contact away from your life completely changing.
This is Matt Srama, who, after having his NRL career cut short due to injury, overcame adversity and pursued his other passion in life, real estate, soon rising to the top 1% of property investors in Australia.
I had a really bad injury and I was at Burleigh Q Scan, I remember it. And in the waiting room, the magazines there, and then they had a property, it was called the API. Picked that up. Started reading it and realised that property was more of a vehicle, not just somewhere you can live.
And he now hopes to empower many more people through his buyer's agency, the Srama Group, to buy Gold Coast property with confidence.
So I really feel the key people where buyer's agents add a lot of value to, time poor professionals, even first home buyers. If they're looking for a house, they're nearly all buying something with renovation potential. A lot of them will come to us without any contacts. And that's why they've lent on us in the first place, is to actually open doors for them to make it a stress-free process. For builders in particular, there's some huge leverage points.
If you're a builder, lean in. As we discuss with Matt how builders can overcome the risk of an empty pipeline through expanding their network and reaching out to other professionals in the property space.
Matt, a lot of the guys I talk to out there, some of them don't even know what a buyer's agent does. That's what you specialise in. You're very good at it. Maybe just run us through a bit of an overview about who a buyer's agent or what a buyer's agent does and who's it for.
Yeah, I guess the simplest way to explain a buyer's agent is, unlike a real estate agent who works for the seller, which is what a lot of people are common with, a real estate agent. Unlike a real estate agent, we work exclusively for the buyer. So we will look at property on their behalf, source, negotiate, provide the due diligence, and just be a representative for the buyer. So you're looking at in America, 90-something% of properties are bought through a buyer's agent. In Australia, the percents are a lot smaller. So I think people are tuning into just getting more help now to find property.
And who is a buyer's agent for? Like, especially in Australia?
Yeah, I'd say, and that's a big one, buyer's agents aren't for everyone. So for instance, I really feel the key people where buyer's agents add a lot of value to, firstly, I'm finding just where the world is now, time poor professionals who want to achieve a good outcome. They realise their dollar per hour value is better served what they do. They don't enjoy it's a stressful thing, find a property, to manage it. So that's the big one we're finding, is people are willing to outsource help now. Second is outsourcing expertise. So some people not confident in the process, maybe scared that they might be overpaying, not sure on what things to consider in a contract or a property. So that's another one, someone who wants to outsource expertise. And then the third one is not outsourcing help when they're not local. As well.
Interstate buyers,
interstate,
maybe.
Overseas, we're working with 2 people from New York, like in the States. We've got people from Melbourne.
Are they
Sydney.
Aussies coming back? Like expats and stuff?
Expat. Yeah, working with a lot of expats. They're all done their thing career-wise, and they realise the Gold Coast is where it's at. So a lot of I used to play footy as well. A lot of them finishing the back end of their careers now. They want to come back home. And interstate people, Sydney, Melbourne, still migration so strong. And Brisbane, they're the big 3. So many people moving to the Gold Coast from those 3 cities still, even post-COVID.
So there's a lot of opportunity, I guess, in the Gold Coast in terms of growth in the
huge.
next few years.
And look, obviously I'm biased because I live here and I love it. But just from when you look at the trends on what makes markets tick, migration, employment, is a lot better now. We've got a stable economy outside of just tourism. And probably the most exciting is that word gentrification. So you're seeing all the new hip cafes, and same things happened in the East in Sydney a few years ago. So out with the old, in with the new. It's it's super exciting.
Epic. And what does the process look like when someone works with yourself or a buyer's agent?
Yeah, so the key first is whether we can add value to what they're doing already. So we'll link up with buyers at different stages. There might be some that straight from the start haven't even started, they just want the help. There might be some who have tried the process and they're like, look, this is too much, or we're not getting anywhere. Or there's some that have literally, we're the last resort, and that's usually the worst time to get into the process, because
is that someone who's been looking for ages and just losing hope and
bit of scar tissue there.
Yeah, right.
We need to realign their whole expectations. So that's a big one, but that's a key one, because the start of the process is really making sure that they can actually achieve what they're looking for. You'd be surprised how many people are actually looking for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah. Right.
And that comes from being honest and transparent from the very start. Because I still, to this day, am a bit surprised a lot of people are still misaligned with expectation versus reality.
I mean, like, obviously our audience is, a lot of builders and so on. Do you find that a lot of people, especially interstate, when they move up here, you get them a property, and the location is probably the most important thing, because they can basically knock it down if they want. Do you find that happens a lot?
I believe location does 80% of the values heavy lifting. And when you look at criteria across the board, whether builders or mum and dad, location is always nearly the main pillar.
Yeah, right.
So I always find people will swing towards the dwelling type or the location. So for instance, there's some people who prefer the 2 living areas, the pool out the back, bigger block. They're quite flexible on location. That probably makes up, I'd say, 20%.
Okay.
And then the 80% are more flexible on the dwelling type, but we're pretty fixed on XYZ location.
Yeah.
How did you get into this, and where'd you start?
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a background, quick story. So played professional sport from Brisbane, played in the NRL for the Gold Coast Titans, had a career there that was unfortunately cut short, so retired. I played 6 years professionally. I had an ambition to play minimum, 15 years. Yeah. So probably, it came up short, had about 9 back-to-back injuries in the space of sort of 4 years. So that sort of cut the career short, medically retired. Whilst in that last year of playing NRL, I thought, what's next? Never had a job, never really done a job interview. So I've always enjoyed real estate. I enjoyed properties, aesthetics.
Where do you think that came from?
I've always looked into it. I've reflected, wasn't in the family. Mum and dad were always buy the one house and pay it off. Kind of no invested in my family. So I'm not sure, in all honesty. I
think I listened to one of the podcasts where you mentioned you were at a doctor's office or something, and then picked up a magazine.
I was just going to say, there's a funny story where I always reflect on that. I think could have been the catalyst, but I think it was, I had a really bad injury, and I was at the Burley Q scan. I remember it. And in the waiting room, the magazine's there, The New Idea, Women's Weekly, and then they had a property, it was called the API, Australian Property Investor. I don't think they're around anymore, but picked that up, started reading it, and it just kind of ignited something. I seen it and realised that property was more of a vehicle, not just somewhere you can live. And I became really interested in it, and still to this day, I feel bad about it, but I took it home with me and I had the this is ownership of Q-Scan Burley. So I took it home.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Maybe you can buy them a new property magazine.
Yeah, I know. I'll go back there and give it back. But that magazine sort of sat in the toilet. I'd read it. And then, then I'd actually go out and buy each month the magazine. So that's kind of where it kind of started, then got into my first property and sort of went from there, which is... that's how that transition from athlete to real estate sort of came about, I really feel,
Then how did you get into buyer's agent?
The buyer's agent, well, naturally and organically, buying my first property, then I got into my second property and things like that, and I was still only about 25, starting to do some things in property, naturally your friends and family start asking for advice and help. And I just loved it. I'd jump online and show them things and tell them what to say to the agent, and look at this in the contract. And
Where did you learn that stuff? Like what to say to the agent and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think it was. It sounds funny, but YouTube was a massive one. I'd just absorb a lot of YouTube and experience. Like I even look back now, like my first property. Like what was I doing? Like there were so many things. I now knowing what I know.
Yeah.
Like I could have changed some things I did on the contract negotiation.
Yeah.
Could have said a few different things. Could have got it way cheaper than what I did. But it was learning. And then the second property, I was a bit better. I knew what to look for. And then the third, I just kept getting better at the process.
Yeah.
As it
I
went
guess
on.
that's kind of like similar to builders with their projects. Like they might, get a client project and then do that, fail miserably in terms of profitability and learn from that. And
you learn. The best way to learn is YouTube, and that was great to understand. But the real learning came doing, taking action and actually having a crack, because none of my friends were doing anything. So that's what I found was huge, was that process. And then the people asking me for help and everything organically rolled into, actually, I want to start a business, didn't know what business. And then the business idea was under my nose the whole time. It's like, why don't I help people buy property?
Yeah.
So that's how that came about. Yeah.
That's cool, because it's not like forced. It just came natural to you.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I fell into real estate sales for 12 months because I thought I didn't even really know what a buyer's agent was. When that really accelerated my growth and learning of the industry.
So you were a sales agent?
Yeah. And that really helped the negotiation, everything, because I had experience like buying property, then I had experience selling property.
Yeah.
And then that just supercharged. It was like, boom, this leads straight to being a buyer's agent. Because key stakeholder for us is sales agent. You need to understand their pain points.
I like what you mentioned in one of your podcasts, your approach being win-win with real estate agents.
Always.
Yeah, win-win, I think you said.
Yeah. It's always got to be a win for all parties involved. So I think having experience as a sales agent gave me good head start on
understanding the other side.
Understanding the other side. So, and also how the negotiation process works. And from a business perspective, learning how to prospect for business, because when you're a sales agent, cold calls, door knocking, like it's sales stuff 101 that I was never exposed to playing footy, obviously. So that gave me a good on what it takes to build a business.
Yeah, I think that's super valuable. I mean, because how I see it is, you were basically the person that wanted to buy a house, right? So you were the client.
Yeah.
And then you did the sales side as well. So you understand the agent, and then buyer's agent. So you know all three, like you've experienced all three. I think a lot of builders, just again, like just taking it back to builders, a lot of builders, and we'll talk about the importance of your target audience in a sec, but I think it's so important to understand what the end customer, what they want, what are their desires, the problems, and not just come from a builder's point of view. I'm sure if you just started as a buyer's agent, man, it would have been different if you didn't experience all the others.
Huge. And I always say you got to know. I think with all business, right? But one thing I learned from being an athlete was you need to be able to relate to all different personality types. For instance, you highlight builders. Like I know some builders out there who are very good, but they're struggling winning clients, or just because they're
great at their craft.
Yeah, they're great at the craft,
but maybe not communication.
Yeah, maybe not the sales and marketing side of things. So when you're in real estate sales, you have to learn sales and marketing, just from a cold front point of view. So, but then when I combine that with my footy career, like I was 18, 19, seeing guys like 32, different, but you're with them every day. Yeah. You have no choice but to be mates kind of thing. So you from a young age, you're exposed to a lot of mature people. So I think all of that combined really helped when we officially launched as a business.
Yeah, cool.
Jumping into networking, because that's massive. I know it naturally comes up in topic with you often. But networking, how important is it, and what has been your experience when you think of that topic and where you apply it?
Yeah. One quote I love is your network is your net worth.
Yeah, big time.
For sure.
And I probably didn't, one of my biggest regrets when playing footy was leveraging the network I had more when I was there. Like I think about it now, like we'd go out to different events as footy players, you know, your early 20s, and you're rubbing shoulders with some really, not just high net worth, but some really good business acumen people.
Who are well connected
Who
further.
are well connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a bit of a chore back then, but what I've realized since I retired, I've lent on a lot of the network I built when I was playing footy.
Yeah.
And now moving forward as a business, the people I meet on the Gold Coast and surrounding, and I see everyone as a potential, as a, like, you network, you build a relationship with someone, you keep that, you foster that, you make sure you don't do wrong by them, because
definitely.
one person can lead you to whatever. I also had you're one contact away from your life completely changing as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, you just never know what it is. Yeah,
never know. So that's why, again, if we go right back to the people skills, I think it's nearly one of the most important skills to have in whether you're a builder, you're a buyer's agent, whoever.
When it comes to people skills, just a thought that came to mind. We're big on books, educating, and we recommend a lot of books. Is there a book that comes to mind, with you being big on this communication and those sort of interpersonal skills? Is there a book that comes to mind that you have lent on?
I mean, first one's obviously that How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's classic.
Dale
I love
Carnegie.
that. Yeah, love that book. Concept of that's really good. Outside of that, there's been a few like leadership ones I've really liked, but honestly, with that book, the How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's super basic, super easy to read. I think that's a really good one. Especially I was like similar to builders as footy players. You know, you've got a certain stigma about you, and the chats are you always talking to the same people. Yeah. So when you're exposed to different people, you really need to learn to communicate a different way. Yeah.
I think this is a very on point topic. And I think, builders watching or listening this, you've got to take note, because, I mean, your clients are like, potential clients for builders, right? And what they want, your clients, what they want is like a home.
Yeah.
Right? What our builder clients, what their clients want is a home. So understanding that and being able to communicate, like upping the communication skills, this is good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
A big reason why we wanted to get you on here is to, one, expose more people to you, but also the industry that you're in, buyer's agent, and the value that you bring to the process of purchasing a home or a property. I know a lot of our top builders who think outside the box and understand the importance of networking. They have great relationships with buyer's agents, with real estate agents. 100%. So when we look at understanding the network, getting guys to sort of open their mind up to that, in that process of someone working with you buying a home, what are all the different stakeholders or specialists or consultants that might be involved in that process? Yeah,
really good question. There's a whole team part of it, and that's why I love what I do as well, because buying a property isn't a solo game, it's a team sport. If you go from like top to bottom, obviously, you got the finance part of it. I always say real estate is a game of finance at the end of the day. So you need to have your finance checked, or whether it's broker, bank, whatever, you need to have the structure in place before even going out and looking at things. So that's a key stakeholder. Solicitors, obviously, because they're a big one on the legalities of it. Obviously having your buyer's agent who'll help you with the actual site or property acquisition to make sure you're buying a good property. And then you got your building and pest inspectors. They're really key to obviously make sure the property's what it is. And then in the post sale, there's some really key stakeholders. Obviously, builders are big ones, designers, architects. Depending on the post sale, really ranges on what the client's looking for. So maybe a first home buyer doesn't need a builder at that stage. They may need some tradespeople to fix things. You know, so that's a key one. If someone's doing the full build process, like we acquire a site and then they go through the build phase, the team's huge, because you got to think town planners,
Yeah, for
people
sure.
like council, builders, like the drafty. There's so many different people involved in that
Yeah.
process. My biggest tip is always get that whole team sorted prior to even starting. And I always use the analogy: you got to have a sharp saw before you cut.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
don't be cutting with a blunt saw, because you're going to be utilizing a lot of effort to get
Energy
small
input
results.
versus
Yeah.
the output is
Yeah.
just not going to be worth it.
100%.
We're big on that.
Yeah.
That's a really good point you raised there in terms of the team definitely grows post acquisition. For the builders that might need more dots connected, I mean, when I'm hearing that, I'm like, man, I hope builders listen to this going, oh my goodness, I need to go out and start building relationships with these guys that are involved with, I can't build or renovate a home if I'm a builder until someone's acquired the property.
Acquired it, yeah.
How often are your clients leaning on you to recommend those specialists?
Yeah, quite a bit. A lot of them will come to us and without any contacts.
Yeah.
And that's why they've lent on us in the first place, is to actually open doors for them to make it a stress-free process. And so for builders in particular, there's some huge leverage points. And we work with a few builders here and there, and we're not locked into any builders. And what we find, the key value adds for builders is obviously clients who are looking to build, obviously. So we've acquired them a site. They're looking for someone to build that project. Second to that is actual builders themselves who are trying to establish products for themselves. Non-client work. Huge, because we get them in the door on off-market properties before they hit the market.
Right. So builders come to you, go, Matt,
I'm looking for a property.
I'm looking to do a property, it's non-client work, a development of some sort.
Yep.
Okay.
And non-client, and we've had a few approach us for client work as well. Hey, Matt, they've got the design, they've got everything done up. They need the 660 square meter block with a 12 meter front end. Like, this is what we need in this location.
Right. So the builder has a client already.
Yes.
And they go, Matt, we need your help here.
Well, we're essentially helping them get the project done quicker,
Yeah,
and underway quicker, because the key thing they're missing is the site.
Yep.
Which is probably the most important part. So,
I think that's.
And then for I was just going to say, for non-client work, then some builders obviously want to start, doing their own stuff.
Yep.
So you can imagine if they've got 5 to 10 clients going, how they're going to find the time to find their own site. So,
man, and they're running a business. Like,
Yeah,
you know what it's like running a business.
100%. You got to outsource, and the key pillar of it all is, I think, with any build, especially where things are at right now, there's never been a more important time to make your money on the way in to a deal. So that's why potentially the off market is really appealing to people in that space doing projects, because most of the fat will be made on the way in.
Okay.
And what's that? I mean, I texted you the other day just to get some insider knowledge and market and that sort of thing. And I asked you, Matt, percentage-wise, what percentage are your acquisitions off-market? What are they at the moment?
Every quarter it changes, but at the moment it's sitting around 70% secured off-market. So you can imagine, and when I say that, we still turn away, I'd say, 60% of the off-markets, because people always say this, get me an off-market, but I say it's not about that. Just because it's off-market doesn't mean it's a good deal.
Right.
Because there's some people selling off-market because they're dreaming price expectation-wise. Or it's just it's a terrible property, like it's a real dud, and they're trying to flick it on the quiet. But the genuine good ones are really good. Like, a really good example is we just secured one for a client who's going to do a flip and sell. So they're going to go through the build process.
And the build's going to be happening soon?
Yeah. Well, it should go, it should settle next week.
Yeah.
We secured this 2 weeks ago. The seller was under stress duress. So we call them like distressed sale. Yeah. So no signboard out the front, no nothing. He needed it gone within pretty much a week.
Wow.
So we had the client for the spot. We ended up securing it in Koala Park in Burleigh Heads.
Hot
literally
place.
one of the hottest.
Hottest in Australia.
Big reason is we educated them that you got to be looking at the fat on the back end as a flip and sell. Like you got to be getting into a pocket where there's evidence of resale value and strength.
Yeah.
You know, so as you know,
Koala Park is
Koala
strong.
Park, there's been some in there for 3.7, 4 mil plus. Some of those new build homes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a few clients that actually built there, like
Got a client
The
who just
one-
finished building there, which I think would easily tap that.
yeah, the one on
Yeah.
the water on the corner. It's massive.
Oh, that's a thumper.
we're about to do a video on that.
Oh,
so-
really?
case study on that, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. So there's evidence that there's demand for that pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people will pay beyond what an actual the data suggests it's worth because it's a really good location
Right.
and it's really gentrified. Like some
Yeah.
thumper homes. So we educate our clients. We targeted that pocket for them. The key for us was making money on the way in.
Yeah.
And we secured something off market because a distressed sale for 1.7. The guy bought it 3 years ago for 1.7. So we essentially got it for the same price 3.5 years ago below land value. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So for our clients, that's the key for them. It's kind of like, that's what I'm saying to people doing the flip and sell and wanting to build to make profit is you got to firstly understand where the market's going to be on the back end, and then you got to work backwards and realize, okay, we need to make money on the way in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, the build should be the cream rather than the build being the thing trying to make it work.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think people forget that. Like the build shouldn't be the full marketing piece and pushing the price. It's like, imagine if you bought well on the way in, that the build is just all this cream on top, and the more you market it and push it, it's just putting the profits even higher. Yeah.
I mean, we work really close with a lot of builder clients. We even have like a small mastermind group that we catch up each week with builders. And one thing they say is they're kind of scared of doing non-client work because they say it's not feasible anymore because of the price rises with materials and stuff, and also real estate. So yeah, what I'm hearing is like probably they should just have a look at like, okay, those two aspects, the back end, is it a good location, all that stuff, evidence of good sales there, is there potential to like sell that really good, but then also on the way in. So if you can tick those two boxes,
lean on an expert. I mean, they're great at building.
Yeah.
You know, leaning on someone like yourself in their local area, because our builders are Australia, New Zealand,
Yeah.
to help them find a good place, knows the market, knows the potential, and can get it off market ideally.
And the thing is, again, it's not feasible because the numbers aren't stacking up. And then you ask yourself, well, where isn't it stacking up? You know, and then you look at the FISOs and you sort of look, all right, if the purchase price estimate is this, what about if the purchase price was this? Like, does that make it feasible? And most of the times, just changing that alone does. And then also on the back end, it's like you could have the best build design, the best architectural, everything. You do all the marketing behind it, but if you're in a location where the demand for that product isn't strong, it really doesn't matter. You're not gonna profit. So
is that
I
like
think
the analogy like back in the day, like don't have the best house on the worst street?
Oh yeah,
Is
100%.
that
definitely?
what you're,
Yeah. Like I think a lot of people, like you sort of highlighted a few people saying it's not feasible. A lot of those, I'd be surprised if they're sort of saying, like they're probably looking where they live or like,
or just
you know,
realestate.com and what's being
yeah,
asked of the property.
Exactly. It's like, think of the product that you want to build and then where will that sell, or where will be the demand for that. So the in Koala Park, for instance, good example. There's some really big homes, very out there, big curves, big, you know.
Yeah.
But you put that same property maybe in a different market, it's probably too much.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a little bit too much. But for that pocket, very appealing.
Yeah, definitely. And
so that's key.
I'm curious, what of the properties that you help people acquire, what percentage are you very aware that they have intentions of doing further work to that property?
In terms of renovation
Yeah.
or build, Look, on the Gold Coast, it's quite a high percentage because there's a lot of old. It's gentrifying city. There's a lot of old houses in every suburb on the Gold Coast. So a lot of people, and the cost of living, the cost of acquiring property now is quite high.
Yeah.
So unless you've got a stack of cash, like you're most likely going to be buying something that needs a bit of love for the everyday Australian. So yeah, the percent's quite high. It could be anywhere from 50, even upwards of people. First home buyers, if they're looking for a house, they're nearly all buying something with renovation potential. Same as people doing a build. It's really hard to find any vacant land, obviously. So you got to be buying something to not knock down or really renovate, extend as well. Right. So very common. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah, man. There's so much potential.
It's huge, and that's why the Gold Coast is exciting, because you go in some of the best pockets on the Gold Coast and the best streets, and just have a drive, and you'll see crappy home, old home, then you see a thumper, and then another thumper, and then a crappy home. And that's awesome, because what that tells me is there's evidence that some good builds are happening. There's money in this city.
And I feel like with Gold Coast, it because it's not old like Melbourne, Sydney, places like that. You don't have those old classic homes that need to be maintained or renovated to a certain standard, or the facade needs to be kept heritage. And so I feel like it's more likely that the house is going to get major work done or knocked down and rebuilt. And I imagine that's just going to keep happening, just because Gold Coast was never given its like heritage roots in terms of like those old cities. I just see that being a continual cycle. Gold Coast just keeps... I mean, one time there was an old building on the Gold Coast Highway. They were going to knock it down, and they peeled back the sign, and they were like, oh, everyone's like, I remember that sign 20 years ago. And they peeled that off, and it was like, oh, I remember that sign, 40 years ago. And it was like...
Was that like Marcari, Gold Coast Highway?
I think so.
Where the new Woolworths is? Because I saw that when they kept peeling.
That's a good example of that. But I think it maybe even been... I had the old ice factory there at North Burleigh in my head, but it was another place in Miami. But
but I mean, so obviously I mean, knowing that, I love living on the Gold Coast, which is awesome. But like a lot of our clients, probably most of our clients are not on the Gold Coast. So where do you see opportunity with that? So if you can like, I guess give some of your thoughts around like Australian stuff, like what should builders be looking for?
Depends what the end goal is. Look, if it's profit, I always say like location does 80% of the heavy lifting. So whatever city or suburb you're in Australia wide, I think the key is being in the high demand, low supply pockets. Like that will nearly cover 80% of the deal. So if you get into, you might have heard the term inner ring, middle ring, outer ring. Like if you look at the capital cities all across Australia, like Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, wherever, you've got your inner ring. I'm finding that middle ring, Australia wide, is doing really well. So for instance, we've interviewed on our podcast the property prequel, like Smout Property up in, they're like builders, and they do this. They completely focus on inner and middle ring only. That's their little niche. That they're looking for old home, knockdown. They can go all out on the back end because the market for middle and inner ring is that. If they went outer ring and did the same product, the margin's not there.
I think that flows pretty well into the next topic is knowing that the niche, knowing the market, knowing the goal. For yourself, you've got your niche.
What's your niche?
Well, it's cool because we're expanding but when I started, when it was just myself, I ran a business out of my bedroom to start. It was literally, I kept it so niche, and this changed after learning more and more around business. I didn't want to appeal to everyone. 2 reasons. You stretch yourself too wide. A lot of buyers agents, I did market research work covering, say, Brisbane down to Byron Bay, or some were doing, Southeast Queensland, and I was like, oh, that's cool, I might do that. But then I understood the key stakeholders involved, like real estate agents, knowing your market. You need to be on those things daily. And there's no way I could go.
How do you know your market?
Those markets,
from Brisbane to Byron.
So I kept it so niche. I literally kept it from like even Burleigh down to Currumbin, and that was it. And then we slowly, the more help I got, and we scaled our business. We're coming up to 11 in our team now, and
Great.
we've just got a buyer's agent, a weapon. She's going to look after north of Bundall.
Mm-hmm.
So she'll go even up to Hope Island. She's
Okay.
she knows her market up there.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
what I found. It's finding all these little niche experts for the pockets,
Mm.
and then us as a brand, we're staying niche for the Gold Coast region. With talks with the Tweed Coast and whatnot, but I've got no inkling, in Brisbane, who knows? But right now, it's like find your niche and just own that niche.
And
because-
there's probably an abundance in that niche. I think this
Oh,
is
there's
where
plenty, yeah.
a lot of builders, they struggle to niche because they go,
definitely.
oh, well, then there's going to be scarcity. If I only, I'm going to pigeonhole myself.
I'm going to miss out on that
No.
work. Well, I'll miss out on that
Oh,
work.
It's a biggest myth in business, I think.
Yeah.
In any business is find I've heard it like your niche on niche. It's
Yeah.
nearly like the more niche you go, the more depth you have, the more impact and
Yeah, well-
specialist you become.
That's how I firstly got introduced to you. I was asking around, and I knew one buyer's agent or two buyer's agents who were retiring, and asking them. And I was like, well, we're a family looking to buy, and your name came up. And then I started researching you, and I was like, wow, this guy is niched on location, and then on top of that, he's niched further on mostly for owner occupier.
Just owner,
Yeah,
buyers, we don't do sales, don't do property management, any of those things. So I'm really passionate about that. Just in business in general, I love listening to like marketing podcasts and stuff as well. And I just always find the best businesses out there are super niche.
Yeah.
Because when they're marketing, they're talking to who they want to talk to.
Yeah.
And that should be business. You don't want to work with everyone, and you shouldn't be able to work with everyone.
Yeah.
It's like,
And then
but for that market, you can help them, and you can help them at a greater scale.
Yeah, I think for builders that or any business that is scared of niching, you've got to look at like, okay, what is that niche? Is there opportunity there? And if yes, then niche down on it. Because if there's an abundance of opportunity, go for it.
Well, I always think, even from a marketing perspective with builders, right? Like the whole top of mind theory always comes into play with builders. So, for instance, I know this one builder, he never really even marketed, but he did like 2 suburbs. He was just the go-to builder. So his fences were everywhere. Like, I'd think of if I was doing a build, I'd literally call him first before anyone, just because he pops up everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of being niche as well.
Yeah, like that omnipresence.
Yeah,
Having
yeah,
that
and
omnipresence,
just like popping up for that certain market.
Interesting you mentioned that. There's a builder that we know down in Sydney, and he kind of picked his kids' school. They moved, obviously, they live in that suburb to get access to school, and he said, cool, 800 metres from that school radius.
Yeah, wow.
We're going to be the go-to builder.
Yeah.
So that means that every school event, he's there,
Yeah.
repping the company. Every one of his sites are bannered. It means that if he's doing a job here, there's a good chance, well, very likely, other jobs are around the corner.
Yeah.
So trades can easily move between his jobs.
True.
His team can
good
move
point.
easily.
Yeah.
Plus, when you build a home and then it's like, all right, cool, the neighbours on each side of them kind of watched it, and they might build with you in the future, maybe the person across the road. But when you've got, say, 3 homes on the streets and around the corner, all of a sudden that entire block becomes potential referrals, because it's like, oh, you're the builder on the block.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
No
almost-
pun intended, but
it like sounds too simple, this whole thing, but the truth, it just makes business so much easier.
Yeah.
Like I know for us, like we just help builders. It's easy for us. We talk their language. They come to us.
Yes.
We can talk to them
Yeah.
about real stuff. We're not
Yeah.
trying to make up stuff. And they trust us because we're experts. And it just makes business so much easier. And
Well,
I guess the same with you.
Yeah, well, I sort of think when I look at your guys' business, if I was a builder, you've got, say, 3 different marketing teams. One services Australia-wide to all businesses. Yeah. One services a range a bit, and one's just builders. And I'm a builder. They're speaking straight. Like I'm going to them every day of the week because that's what you're looking. You're looking for specialist advice. And one of my favourite sayings to my team is always, leads want to be led, and people paying for advice to be
Big time.
shown the right direction, in all honesty.
Can you just repeat that again?
leads want to be led.
Okay, leads, you mean like people?
Like lead,
inquiry.
as in like funnel of
Right.
like lead
Prospective
potential
clients.
clients.
Yeah. Okay.
They want to be led.
They want to be sold almost, right?
It's like
serviced.
what I found is if everyone's got the reason they're getting in touch with you is because there's a pain point.
Yeah.
And if you can come up with a solution specific to that pain point,
Yeah.
and this is why I always say, like, we can't help everyone, and that's awesome because you don't want to help everyone, otherwise you're too spread.
Yeah.
So there's been lots of times we'll have catch-ups like, actually, we can't actually help you, but I know someone can, I'll refer them on.
Yeah.
But
It comes
if
back
it's
to
like,
that network.
yeah, and it's like, but if this, say in your example, like this builder's got a pain point and they want to expose more market, blah, blah, blah. You've got the solution, and then they're paying for you guys to lead them where like you guys are gonna, I always just find that it's business, like leads want to be led, and they're paying for a professional to help them get out of the situation they're in at the moment.
So just real quick, going back to what you just said, like you can't help everyone. So when you have some of those catch-ups and you actually go, sorry, I don't think we can help you. Like, what does that look like? What are your disqualification kind of like? Why would you do that? Like, what would be the case when that happens?
I think, look, where the business is at the moment, obviously geographically is an obvious one. Like, we're looking at different areas and how we can service and scale there. But if they're looking in an area we can't, we don't have the, it's even like, for instance, we're looking at the Tweed Coast region, but right now I know the market down there a bit, but not to the depth that I feel justified that they should be paying me.
So really it's just what's best for that prospect.
Exactly. Yeah, because again, that's where people go wrong as well. It's they start getting desperate and taking on everyone. And then you see their organic growth stall because they're not getting the word of mouth because the product's not good. At the end of the day, it's just like marketing and all those sorts of things is a must have. But at the end, if you've got a crappy product, you could slap as much marketing as you want behind it. It's just, you know what I mean? It's especially for building. Like if you're a terrible builder, like but if you're a great builder and then you slap on marketing with that, it's like that's where the damage is done.
I love this topic because I mean, whenever a new client comes on board with us, we don't touch cameras, we don't do any copywriting, no design, nothing yet. We do what we call vision and story development first. Vision being helping them get clear on what they actually want.
What they want,
right, in business. And then reverse engineering it from there. And then kind of like part of that process is going, who's my ideal client?
Yes.
And then how do I actually help them? And once you get clear on those things, it like we found that our builders just get super clear because then they go, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing granny flats and that's all I'm doing. I'm an expert with that. It's in this location. I can talk their language. Or I'm a luxury, reno kind of company. That's all I focus on. And
I love that with builders. I love the ones who go super niche on niche. Like I know a builder who's going into the granny flat, just pure granny flat. That's it. And I know some that are just doing builds, over 2.5 million, like super niche. I love it. Because all the marketing then relates. It's very easy to talk.
Definitely. And we see the guys who are more niche, like you say, niche on niche. Let's say the results, the impact of marketing is often more powerful and happens quicker. When 100%. It's very, very clear.
A lot of builders feel like they attract the wrong clientele that only focus on price. They never seem to get the projects that they are truly passionate about and that are also profitable. Builders love working with us because we help them create an emotional connection with their ideal clients through the power of story and help them build long-term trust through their marketing system. If you're a builder and if you feel like you need help, book in a story strategy session with our team by visiting builderstorymarketing.com. Now back to this episode. But what are you seeing in the property market at the moment?
Look, it's two parts. I always say this when everyone asks. There's a market and then there's your market. So what I mean by that is there's a market around Australia, like what the economy's kind of doing and whatnot. I think it's obviously a high interest rate environment. So I always say it's an uncertain market. Does that mean it's a negative? No, I think every astute investor knows that's a good market. That's where you want to be kind of leaning in and understanding the market as a whole. But then I say, what's your market? So, for instance, actually, I was at the ice bath this morning. The lady said, "Oh, how's the market?" I said, "Oh, where are you looking?" Because
That's such a good question.
So when you say your market is like a specific location, like basically where you're looking? Or?
Super. Well, here's a really super clear example. So, say Palm Beach is a suburb on the Gold Coast. There's a Palm Beach market, but within Palm Beach, there's a unit market, and the unit market consists of the high-rise market and the low-density market. So, as you can see, there's just by saying one suburb, which is in a location within that suburb, there's different markets. So, again, like Burleigh, there's houses, high-end houses, and then there's the original knockdowns. They're two different markets. Both are doing different things. So the high-end market is doing really well in some. I'll use Gold Coast as an example. Really good. And I think the high-end market, like what I mean is completed stock, that's been done to a good finish, is doing well across Australia in some really blue chip suburbs, because the key buyer of that is lifestyle. They're moving for kids. They don't want to go through the build process. It's all done. And they're happy to pay a bit more. Like it's an emotional purchase. So it doesn't matter what the interest rate's doing for those ones.
So is that where the opportunity is for like non-client work for builders?
I think so, yeah. First thing, really good location. What we spoke before, Australia-wide, inner to middle ring. Not skimping on the build process either. One of the biggest haggle points with buyers I've worked with when we get through property that's either had a reno or they've tried to make it look good is that grey area of they've skimped on a few rooms or skimped on a bit of the renovation where it's still original, but then they've gone all out on the flow, it's not there. You're better off leaving it all original so someone can see the potential in it for themselves, or go all out. So you're attracting a really emotional buyer or buyers. So that's where I see the best market at the moment is kind of finished stock. But at the end of the day, anything in good locations around Australia is still doing really well. Like for a house, still doing really well. High-rise units, tread carefully because there are a few cranes in the sky. So that means supply is going up. So obviously that may impact your future growth on things like that. But yeah, across the board, it's uncertain, I'd say, but very positive.
And what you mentioned something earlier, migration, or immigration. What numbers have you seen around? Because I've heard different figures, different numbers. What's the latest you've sort of come across in terms of who's coming into Australia?
I don't want to say anything that's not factual, but I see different numbers all the time. But the key thing I've noticed with all of them, it's a lot, basically a lot of people, and not just internal. So what I mean by internal is like a lot of people from towns moving into more the cities and for lifestyle, but overseas as well. You guys would know more about this than me, but like with work and skilled labour and things like that, it's all opening back up again. So they're going to need places to live, and probably the scary but opportunist thing of all of it is vacancy rates are like below 1%. So a vacancy rate is the percentage rate they give to dwellings available for rent and people needing shelter. 3% is balanced, 2% is tight, 1% is homeless. We're below 1%.
And there's even places where it's zero, right?
It's crazy. So it's very sad. It's very sad, and that's why there's so much talk on, help for tenants and things like that. But at the end of the day, that's why I always say, like, you asked me the question around how's the market doing as a whole. Look, until shelter becomes undesirable or needed, it's going to do well.
And I don't see that happening.
I can't see shelter
you
going
got
Maslow's
hierarchy there where it plays a big part and has done so for a long time.
It's a key human need. So that's why I always say location is the key pillar for everything, because yes, shelter is important, but if that shelter's in a low demand area, that's when you can get in trouble. So it's why I say it's sad but exciting is two fronts. Obviously sad for tenants. Landlords, there's never been a better time because the rent's through the roof. So that's life, isn't it? It's kind of like
so that's like supply and demand, right?
Exactly right.
I'm going to switch this conversation real quick because I know we had a quick chat about this off camera. supply and demand. So bring it back to builders again. The builders that have a lot of supply in terms of their time, they don't have much like jobs or all that kind of stuff. So they don't have much demand for their service. They're going to struggle, right?
Yeah.
And we spoke about building your brand because you're big on this, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Like, I mean, if I'm a builder, I would love to have a waiting line, like a wait list. And that comes back down to supply and demand, right?
Key one here for builders, what I've noticed, because I work and communicate a lot with builders, and I love looking at builders, and I love marketing. So I love what I've identified. It's just obvious. The builders who are creating a brand around their work and expertise, they have got wait lists at the moment. And I'm talking years, like over a year long. Reason is, again, you got to remember the brand is exposed on this thing we all have called a mobile phone at the moment. And I don't know, I was in Bali though, everyone is on their phone. It's like a walking billboard. And then if you've got a really good product that you're proud of as a builder, and you can slap that in more people's faces, again, supply and demand. It's not that there's a lack of, yes, there's been a slowdown with build and things like that, but people are still building.
Yeah, there's always someone building.
There's always
It's
someone
just whether or
building.
not they're going to build with you or someone else.
And again, that goes back down to the niching. If you look at it from an aggregate level, building's gone probably down.
Yeah.
But you're probably looking at volume. Everything's in the mix there. What about those speciality ones?
Yeah.
And I think those are the builds you're talking about as well. Booked out
And
for
those
2-3
inner
years.
and secondary rings.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, 3 people we've had on our, or 2 really in particular ones we had on our podcast was Smout Property in Brisbane and Greyer, who are doing stuff in Brisbane and Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think they do. Well, Smout is just inner ring Brisbane.
Yeah.
Greyer is now, they've just started Gold, but they're Southeast Queensland.
Yeah.
They've created such strong brands through marketing, through really strategic marketing, that they are specialists for what they do. Both obviously got really good products.
And highly sought after.
This is what we said. If you've got a really good product, that's non-negotiable first. But if you slap some marketing strategy behind that, it's like it's scary what can happen. So I think that's cool. And what Smout are doing now, which is cool, and why personal brand's important, they just sold another one of their projects off the plan. But even on the signboard, they had their logo on it. And it's like, this is a Smout property, or Greyer do it all the time. Like, this is Greyer built.
Yeah, so there's value.
There's value actually in owning one of their builds, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So
well, definitely for the on sale, I've been to an auction in Brisbane, and the auctioneer and all the sales stuff was, this is a grey house. This is a grey house.
Yeah,
You know?
crazy.
Yeah, it's a brand name.
It's a brand.
So, I mean, look, we always talk to builders about this, like showing project and stuff is super important, right?
Yeah.
If someone comes to you, to your building business, you've got to be able to execute on the product, right? 100%. So it's like a prerequisite for being in business. You've got to build quality. So here's the thing. So builders, when JP or myself ask builders what makes you different, they'll say, oh, my quality, I'm on time, like all these things.
Good
but
material.
that's just a prerequisite, right?
Yeah.
Good material.
It should be.
All builders have access to basically all material.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably some unique other ways, but so assuming the product is good, assuming you're showing the product in its best light, you're actually using that to market and stuff. How important is the story side of your brand? Because you're big on this.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just Matt Srama, like bias agent. Like there's a story here.
100%. And if I relate it to builders, right? Like, I think the key one I'm finding with builders is, this is from feedback as well. Like I've asked people, oh, why'd you go to that builder or whatever? It's the builder, firstly, they got in the door because of the brand.
Yeah.
But then it converted into business because the builder understood their needs. And I think that's a real big one. It's not, like we were saying before, a good builder, I feel, will be a magician to create what they want rather than, hey, this is what we charge, yes or no kind of thing. It's like you grab their pain point, what they need. So that comes through listening, understanding, having a good sales process to, build them up. And then they present kind of the solution, and that solution is tailored to that person. And one of my favorite sayings in business is, the best businesses in service space, like builders, buyers, all those sorts of things, make the client feel like they are the only client on their books.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Once they come like face to face, and mate, I totally agree with you 100%. And that's that whole, like what you said before, leads want to be led.
Yeah.
Like totally 100%. So how can you do that on the front end as
with
a builder
the message,
before
yeah.
you even know about that lead?
Yeah.
That lead, that prospect will know about you and your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
How can you do that?
I think it comes, and I love this topic. I really think it's, a compelling message, or what makes grey or smell, some of those ones we mentioned, what makes them different to someone else. And you can't communicate. Sometimes it's through your messaging and your marketing, and it's the consistency of the marketing.
Yeah.
And I find marketing is really big to make, well, they say that there's a certain amount of touch points someone needs to see you, or to even reach out to you. So I think that's a big one. It's the message. It's who you're speaking to, your avatar, you're speaking to. Because again, if you're trying to speak to everyone, it's probably not as direct. But if you're super specific, niche on niche, that may open the door up to more people, reaching out. And then, as we said, when they reach out and inquire, then it's like putting together all that.
Yeah.
I've got a solution for you, and this is how it is. So
That's good.
yeah.
And to quote the castle, like it's the vibe. Like,
Yeah.
what is the vibe that people feel about you and your business? I mean,
100%.
you know, that's what I love about like your podcast and stuff as well. Like, and just like your whole brand. Like, there's that vibe of like, man, if I need a family home, Gold Coast, I'm tight on time, busy professional business owner, whatever. Like, there's that expert. He's going to help me get to my desire.
Yeah. And one thing that just come to me then as well is like, if you are a builder or a business and you've got like team, it's like that vibe, like you said, the energy is, that's culture, and that's leadership, and that's if you're the lead builder, you're setting the feel of the whole joint, so that's got to come into who you get on your team as well.
Yeah. And I think a lot of builders that, again, they'll probably start off just on the tools alone, solo.
Yes.
And then grow. And then all of a sudden they've got a team.
Yes.
And they never had the time.
Yep.
And it's not their fault.
Yeah.
They never had the time to go sit down and go, what is my vibe? We've got to use this more often. What's your vibe?
Yeah, what's the vibe? What's the culture?
Yeah, what's the culture? How am I going to market that culture so that people can actually experience it on the front end before they even come to us?
Well, I think this is another one why brand is good. If you are a builder looking to scale, and then you're moving from more on the tools, off the tools, to build a good team. Again, if you had a really good brand, and this is just because one of my clients ended up working for like Greyer, he wanted to be a part of the Greyer team. Yeah. So it's twofold. The brand you build, it's not only you can attract good clients, you can also attract good talent.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Good. Yeah.
We definitely heard that feedback from many of our clients.
Yeah. Talent's important, because if you're a builder looking to scale, you can, again, if you haven't got the right people in the right seats to execute on your vision and your product.
Yeah, because once you get the marketing and sales dialed, like there's an abundance of work.
Yeah.
But like the throughput, how do you actually fulfill those?
Fulfill. Yeah. 100%.
I'm guessing that's the same with you as well. And that's why that's why
definitely.
you've got how you qualify people. We always suggest to all our clients. So just real quick, like a part of what we implement for clients is kind of like a funnel. So taking people to a specific funnel to like request a consultation.
Yes.
But in order to request that consultation, the prospective client has to go through a questionnaire. Yeah. Like a thorough questionnaire. Yeah. And there's even questions like, hey, look, we only build X amount of projects each year, 4 projects a year, whatever. Why should we consider building for you? And then the client has to sell them. So it's like, it gives the builder like, enough data to then go to that next stage and qualify. Yeah. So
one of my business mentors always told me the quicker you can qualify a no, the better you'll be in business. Yeah. So when you start out, hey, you want to
just take
everyone. And
well, I guess you're in survival mode, right? Like at that point, you're just like, I just got to get out of survival mode.
Yeah.
Was that the same for you? Like, when
you
started?
100%. But then you realize like, like that book, that How to Win Friends and like putting things in your sale process, like scarcity, and you know, we unfortunately do have a wait list at this time, and showing testimonials of proven track record. Just all those subtle things, because again, a mentor has told me you want the prospect coming into the meeting being interviewed by the builder. Or
hoping that you take them on.
Yeah. Exactly right.
We felt like that when we spoke with you, Carly, 2 years ago. So
No, I appreciate that. But again, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's an exciting space though, what you guys are doing, and with builders especially. We were chatting off air. I think, builders now, I love the ones who are creating personal brands and brands around their product. They're going to go really far. They're going to really separate themselves, I think.
Yeah. No, cool. Mate, so if anyone wants to get in touch with you, where do they find you? Website? Definitely go listen to the podcast. But where do they find you?
Just the Srama Group. So it's just my last name, Srama.
Cool.
TheSramaGroup.com. Reach out there and on socials and all that sort of jazz. And the podcast, The Property Prequel, we're just helping buyers, our main audiences. Buyers before they go out to buy. So learning off some of Australia's best minds in the property space. And
and I'm really enjoying the podcast. Like, I'm halfway through. I just put on each day when I drive the one where what's her name, Foster is the last name.
Zephyr and Stone.
So I'm halfway through that. That's I think builders should listen to that one.
That's it, mate. That's
a good one.
She was really surprised me. She Zephyr and Stone in one of Australia's. They're like a home design hub. So she's got this cool business model where people can go in and design and trends interior design, but she does her own projects. So she's actually got some really good advice on what appeals to the end market when you're a builder, developing a good floor plan. Actually, I was blown away by her knowledge.
That's a good one. I think it'll be good for builders, because especially her story, where she started off, what she was looking for, like what kind of blocks. And again, like, if we talk about builders that want to get into non-client work, man, that's a great podcast to listen to.
100%.
So no, we'll be sure to link all your stuff under the video or the audio. So, but thanks so much for coming.
Huge thanks,
mate.
Matt.
No,
happy to chat with you.
Thank you. It's always good to chew the fat, eh?